What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another week of the Derby Update here at RacingDudes.com. And back for another week. And listen, by popular demand, I got too many texts, emails, calls saying you got to bring him back. So we brought him back. Ryan Stillman back again with us. Are you excited for week 2 for you of the Derby Update?
Aaron, it's great to be back. And I got to say, I'm actually not only excited, I'm kind of on the edge of my seat because we have something very special if you're tuning in today. Aaron, why don't you break the breaking news we have down?
Yeah, so the big thing and the added thing and really the big part of the video this week will be Jon White's top 5. So he texted us after watching last week. He said, hey, what if I send my top 5 in? And you can read it off as well. So yeah, and it's a great week for it because we don't have anything to recap for what happened last weekend. Was nothing, basically. We had the Pasco Stakes. It was a DQ. Owen Almighty finished first, across the wire first at least, got DQ'd. Naughty Rascal goes up. It doesn't really matter. These are not, I don't think, Derby, like serious Derby horses. So not a lot to talk about, so we can get into the top 5. How cool is it that Jon White reached out to us, said, hey, here's the top 5. I'm excited to see it.
It's such an honor. I mean, for me, he's my GOAT. He's as good as anyone who's ever done this. In my opinion, he's the best. And what's so exciting about it is, Jon White, when he speaks, you learn, and it's great to hear where like a master at horse racing feels the horses are at this minute. So it's super exciting to have this exclusive, and I cannot wait to break it down. Let's jump right into it, Aaron.
Yeah, it's also good for us, too, because our top 5s did not change. So we'll just sit here and kind of remind you real quickly. I'll go through mine, and then you'll go through yours 2 seconds here, and then so you get an idea of how we compare to Jon. So number 5 for me, again, was Patch Adams. Like I said, it hasn't changed from last week. So Patch Adams, obviously the big winner at Churchill Downs last time out. We'll see him in a stakes next, I'm sure, or at least an allowance race. Important to note on Patch Adams before I go on, he did not enter the Lecomte. We're going to talk about the Lecomte here just a little bit later after Jon's top 5. Patch Adams not there. Another Brad Cox horse is there, though. We'll talk about that in a minute. Journalism, number 4 for me, of course, the Los Alamitos Futurity winner. Sovereignty, number 3 for me. He was the Street Sense winner last time out, stretching out to 2 turns for the first time there at Churchill Downs. Number 2, East Avenue, 2 perfect races, 1 disaster as he stumbled at the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and finished off the board. And the Breeders' Cup Juvenile winner, Citizen Bull, number 1 for me. Ryan, recap yours for us quickly.
Yeah, Patch Adams. I think this horse ran the best maiden special weight that we've seen on the Derby Trail, arguably, in my opinion. For me, it was. He had the best race over the Churchill Downs track, in my opinion, of any horse we've seen on the trail. And that counts a lot with me, Aaron. I like to see them run well over the track they run the Derby on. Not every horse likes it. And I think without question, he's an exciting prospect. 5's fine for right now. Mm-hmm. Barnes, this horse, he's shown a lot in his first 2 starts. I'd love to see him win around 2 turns, which I suspect will not be a problem based on the way he did what he just did in his last race. But I expect him to have a great showing and climb up my list shortly. So he stays there. 3, journalism. He won going 2 turns. That gave him the slight edge to me over Barnes. That gets him the nod. But look, I love his pedigree, love his trainer, and I love him on the Derby Trail this year. Sovereignty, this horse is my number 2 horse. This horse has the look and feel of a Derby contender, Aaron. We talked about that last week. I expect to see him get better with each start because I think he's going to like distance. He's trained by arguably the best horseman in the game, in my opinion, 2023 Trainer of the Year, Bill Mott. And Godolphin will win the Derby one day, so why not with him? And finally, we come to my number 1 horse, which is your number 1 horse, Citizen Bull. And look, Aaron, this is the de facto number 1 horse for us both. On paper, nobody is close to his resume. I think there's been some horses with more talent than him, possibly, that have flashed that. But his consistency and his class get him the nod here. Plus, like we said last week, this was a horse who was supposed to be better at 3 than 2 and sort of somehow or other wound up winning the 2-year-old Breeders' Cup Juvenile deciding championship race. So there's upside for him if that's the case. Number 1 for me for right now.
All right, now let's get to what people are waiting for here. Jon White's top 5. Now, you've got the inside source. He just texted me his top 5. You actually went in depth with him. Well, I don't want to say in depth, but you talked to him a little bit more about it. So I'm going to have you read it off here. I'll put them up as you read them off.
Yeah, sure. Before you do, 1 second, Jon texted with me, as Aaron said, and I just want to say, so I wanted to ask him how this was compiled, and Jon explained his rankings. Before we get into it, here's what you need to know. Jon said he makes his list based on how he would pick the Kentucky Derby if it was being run today. So he's not picking it on how he feels the order of finish will be. He's ranking them by how he feels the horse with the best chance to win would be ranked. So I think that makes sense, right? And that's a fair way of doing it. So why don't we get into it with that in mind?
Okay, let's do it.
Number 5, journalism. So, I mean, we both talked about this, and I think that's a fair top 5 horse, don't you? Journalism, to me, what I really do like is I feel like his trainer, we should talk about this for a second, is sort of having, it's weird to say a breakout year when he's won a Preakness, but as far as out west, would you say it's fair, Aaron? I feel like we should talk about that for a second.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if breakout year, or just having a year that looks like it's going to set up bigger than what he's ever done before. I think he is he doesn't really need to have a breakout year. People know who he is, but it seems like he's got better horses, or maybe more horses that are higher quality than usual.
Absolutely. He's also got Bullard, in case you're not following. So Michael McCarthy is who we're talking about, by the way. Fantastic trainer. He was trained under Todd Pletcher, and superstar in the making. And he won a Preakness with Ron Bowers. So journalism deserves to be here. He's got all the looks. I agree with this as a top 5 horse, Aaron.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, we have him, you have him number 3. I have him number 4. Speaking of number 4, let's go to his number 4 horse.
Sovereignty. And I think this is a very interesting number 4, because to me, this is a horse with the most like sort of upside, because this is the kind of horse, Aaron, that as you sort of see horses transition from 2 to 3, you can see these massive leaps. Doesn't he remind you of those kind we've seen do that in the past?
Here's what's going to be interesting with this horse. I've kind of decided he's going to do exactly what you said, and he's really going to be a force. The flip side of this horse is I just keep thinking about him with his running style. Is he going to be that second and third type horse? I could see that as well. To finish second and third in these big races, and you think next time. Now, again, I lean more towards what you just said, because I've got him ranked 3. You've got him 2. John has him 4. A lot of upside with him, without any doubt. But I do see another world, the opposite world happening, where like, yeah, he's good, but he's just not great. So, but I am excited about him.
It is interesting, by the way, with him. He's got that come from behind style, and I hate that style in the Derby. I just hate it. You hate it, I think, Aaron. Is that fair to say too?
Yes, definitely.
But it was nice to see Sierra Leone do it. So, last year he didn't win. Don't get me wrong, but he did prove that you could be a come from behind horse if you have the right talent to be possibly able to get up there. But let's see how he progresses. Mott's going to have him handled well. Let's go to number 3.
Number 3, Rodriguez.
Very interesting. Wouldn't you say, Aaron? I think this one's a talking point here. Now, Aaron, he won on the same card as Barnes, as you know, or anyone who follows racing knows. He was super impressive. Barnes got a 94 buyer for the San Vicente win. Rodriguez got a 93. Now, Aaron, I don't know if you're aware of it or not, or our listeners are aware of it or not. They revised his buyer's speed figure number.
I'm not aware.
It is now a 101.
Really?
Yes.
When did this happen?
I don't have the exact date, but it did happen in the interim between then. That means, Aaron, technically, he ran better than Barnes on the day, right? I mean, you understand. Why don't we talk about that for a second? You just hearing this news, what that resonates with you like?
Yeah, I'm not a follower of the buyers, other than when they first come out for big races. I'll text people, hey, this is the buyer. I always tell people they're a good starting off point, but that's kind of where it ends. Nothing more, nothing less. But no, I did not know that they got the revised buyer, and that is a big revision. When you said that, I thought, what'd they do? Like 96, 93 to 101. That's massive. I'm guessing was the timing of the race wrong? Did they just kind of, what was, do you know the reasoning why? This is news to me.
No, I didn't get a full rundown of it prior to the show, looking and seeing it was, revised. That's all I could see there. But let's talk about that for a second, because if you're newer to racing or you don't care about speed figures, a 101 for a January maiden special weight, that is pretty spectacular. It's not pretty spectacular. It is spectacular. And, I think Rodriguez, that's a very fair assessment for a horse with a 101 buyer speed figure in his second start. Yeah, I think Rodriguez definitely is like, there's tiers here, right, Aaron? I think at this point of the year, there's just tiers of horses, and you can place them wherever you want.
Yeah, and I'm gonna jump in here and read what Brad Free from the Daily Racing Form wrote about this, and oddly enough, friend of Jon White. So it's pretty funny that Brad Free was the first explanation I got from it. He said Beyer speed figure for Rodriguez has been revised to 101. The revision makes sense considering Rodriguez ran faster than Miramati, who got a 98 and was a very nice allowance winner. He actually beat Flightline's brother, Eagles Flight, but Miramati got a 98 on the same exact card. So here's the thing that's strange to me. It's the same card, same day, both races at the same distance. Rodriguez runs faster than Miramati, yet Miramati gets a 98, Rodriguez gets a 93. Why would they ever have assigned that to begin with is what's really strange to me, Ryan. So this is not a good look, I don't think, for Beyer speed figures. I didn't know we were going to get into this today, but that's weird. That's weird to begin with. So anyway, if you thought, hey, the race was mistimed or this or that, okay, yeah, I see the adjustment. But basically, Rodriguez gave them the data all on his own. They didn't really have to look at the times or anything. So that's weird. But anyway, go on.
No, there's no way getting around it. I think your commentary is great. Brad Free is always great coverage there. Yes. And look, they did the right thing revising it, even though, you know, that should have been correct in the first place. Let's talk about this for a second, though. Now, like I was trying to say a second ago, I feel like there's tiers, Aaron, in this as at this moment, and there's just sort of like the A team, the B team level horses, the C team. Looking at that 101, seeing how easily he did it, second start, and he ran very well in his first start to lose to Romanesque. It was a very close finish from how I remembered in my mind. You know, he did pretty well. I feel like you can easily make a case now that that's been revised. He definitely seems to be put in the A team tier. What do you think now that you've heard that and you see him throw it on John's list?
Yeah, absolutely. I do believe this horse. I mean, you got to kind of raise him up a notch because of that. But I say that, and I also kind of look at this and go, well, what do these numbers really mean? I don't know. That's just kind of weird to me. As far as the eyeball test goes, I thought he ranked up there now in that level with a horse like a Citizen Bull of Barnes, not above them, and I still wouldn't rank him above them. But I do think he was a horse, and that kind of race showed that we should go to a stakes race next time, right? That's kind of what I thought from that win. And whether it's a 93 or a 101, that doesn't change my opinion that, yeah, he's going to be in a Derby prep next time out, and we'll just see how good he is.
Fantastic. And it's what's great about John's list, the comments we get to shoot back and forth about this and figure it out between each other. So it's fantastic. Let's see his second horse.
There you go.
Barnes. Look, this is a very interesting one because for me personally, Aaron, I had trouble figuring out where to place Barnes. I really liked what I saw. I didn't want to be a prisoner of the moment and jump up. But when you're dealing with Barnes and you ask a guy like Jon White, who's seen every great horse you can imagine in his lifetime, I take a lot of credit for that. And perhaps I have Barnes too low at 4 if John has him at 2. I'm really excited that he has him there. And the more I think about it, the more I like what I saw from Barnes, especially, Aaron, just the fact he's named after Barnes. And I know that's been the big talking point all along. You just know Baffert and the connections would wait for a very special horse to do that with, or a promising horse. Mm-hmm. So far, what he has over every horse we've kind of gone through in this list is he's undefeated. And that takes a lot of stock in my book. So Barnes, very interesting number 2. How do you feel about John ranking him there?
Yeah, I thought he would be in the top 5 for sure. 2 makes sense to me. I think what I could tell the listeners right now, and this is just proven over the years and many years of John doing lists and ranking Derby horses and talk about Derby horses, he always has a very good feel for the Bob Baffert barn. He just does. I know that he's friendly with Bob and has covered him for a long time, but he just kind of usually can rank them in the right spots. I remember the year that Justify came along. John was really, really high on McKenzie. And then I remember after Justify won his maiden race, we were with John a little bit earlier or a little bit later after that. And he said, yeah, McKenzie ain't shit. Basically, Justify is the horse. John did not say that word for word, but you get my point. But anyway, when there is a debate over which Baffert is better, John usually gets it right. So Barnes at 2 is significant over Rodriguez at 3. Now let's see, though, is Citizen Bull number 1? That's the big question, right? And I know the answer, but is Citizen Bull number 1, Ryan? Tell us.
Well, He isn't. Let's reveal Patch Adams. Patch Adams. Now this one to me is very exciting. You know, I feel like this horse is one that you could argue the public hasn't fully caught up with. He's not in the future book is in the #1 horse or anything, even though he's run better than Barnes, who's currently #1. And I know that the more recent the race, the more money comes in on a horse. Yeah. But man, Aaron, his maiden special weight at Churchill Downs.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt. It's breathtaking is, I guess, the word I would use. It was electrifying. Yeah. He just killed it. John did tell me this about his #1 horse. He has already bet him in the future book at 33-1. So, and that's what's great about John, guys, is a lot of people get on air and they go, I like this horse. I don't. John puts his money where his mouth is. Yeah. So, you know, he doesn't just give an opinion. He bets an opinion. And I think that, look, if you're going as far as talent, as far as something that wows you at the track where the Derby's run, there's no question this horse has a case to be #1. And I love it. I think it's a good swing there. And I appreciate that we, can discuss this because I'd love to hear your thoughts on it now.
Well, I think we knew that this would be his #1 horse. If you watch the Triple Crown fantasy draft that we did on Blinkers Off, Patch Adams was his horse that he took. I asked him on the show if you had the #1 overall pick, because you guys had the #2 pick, but if you had the #1 overall pick, would you have taken Patch Adams? He said yes, for sure. So, no surprise here. Look, I think when you see this list, it's the top 3 horses there. It's a lot more, hey, I don't want the establishment. Barnes is established, but the other 2 are just maiden winners, talking about Rodriguez and Patch Adams. John's projecting the future versus, in a way, like how he's ranked them. He doesn't think the quote unquote stakes winners, the established winners, are quite as good as these up and comers. And that's really evident when you see Citizen Bull is not even on this list.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a fair way to do it. And I think you would have to agree too, Aaron, that Citizen Bull, as far as if you were to put like the most flashy performance from him next to Patch Adams, Rodriguez, Barnes, it is a different feel. It's in other words, I think Citizen Bull is the most likely horse at this very second. If he just keeps his course to make it to the Derby, to be a solid horse throughout, like he is kind of easy money in the bank for you. But if you're trying to be like, who do I think has the most talent maybe going forward? These other horses all surrounding him all have a case, and I have no problem whoever you put first. And I think this one has a very good shot of doing that, especially with a Jon White endorsement. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, Patch Adams certainly looks like a horse with a big-time future. And look, we have him ranked as well. John, a little bit bolder than us, went ahead and put him #1. And look, I think that it could be any kind of horse, this Patch Adams. He certainly, that last race, looked like a superstar. Now, flashy maidens, sometimes they translate into flashy stakes winners, and sometimes they don't. And that's kind of where we're at with Rodriguez and Patch Adams both. And so we'll just have to see what happens next with this horse and just how he runs. Now, I do want to point out the horse is working at Payson Park. So we'll see what happens here, the training center down there at Payson Park. So we'll see kind of where he goes. That is in Florida for people who do not know. So maybe he is going to be down in Florida and running those races. We'll kind of see how that breaks down there. So Patch Adams, #1, like I said, all the potential in the world after that maiden special weight. If you have not watched it at Churchill Downs, that was on the Stars of Tomorrow 2 card on November 30th. Go check it out. It's worth the watch. But again, now you got to step up. You're going to have to go longer. You have to do it against better horses. So that'll be where we really see Patch Adams and Rodriguez as well. So, but I respect it. I think he's a good #1 for sure.
Absolutely. And we're grateful to you, John, for the list here. It's very fun for all of us to see. So hopefully we get to do that some more. It was really fun.
So one thing I want to mention on Citizen Bull, and I think it's almost now to the point where it's like he's getting too disrespected by people. I feel like this horse, he's never lost around 2 turns. He's trained by Bob Baffert. He's going to be the 2-year-old of the year. John didn't have him in the top 5. Most of the comments that we get on these videos are like, he sucks. I don't know. I'm sitting here going, I wouldn't forget about this horse. He's training right now. He's had 2 pretty good workouts. I think he's getting disrespected, Ryan. And I don't think it's going to be easy to just whack Citizen Bull with some of these horses.
I'm with you on that, Aaron. I don't get the full disrespect. There have been 2-year-old champions where I'm like, wow, what a lucky horse that they ran that juvenile.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. You think of some for Bob Baffert in the past that have been that way. The juvenile winner, I rarely get just crazy excited about. But this one does, to me, have the look of a type that could be very successful this year.
He reminds me of the kind of horses, again, that you see sort of steadily progress as they age, as they get older. I have no problem with it. Again, and most people probably wouldn't be onto this, but again, there was a lot of buzz from inside the Baffert barn, from people saying, this horse is going to be better at 3, just like they said about National Treasure, just like they said. So these are hard horses to sort of get behind because people love those flashy Patch Adams runs. They love the flashy Rodriguez moments. And this horse doesn't give you that, but those guys kind of build up to it, right, Aaron? I mean, this is the kind of horse that builds up, and I don't think distances in the Triple Crown Trail will be a problem for him. He can be in any of them. And honestly, Aaron, one last thing on this, it's a war of attrition out there. Sometimes a lot of these talented horses, they're fast, they get injuries, they're set back. You don't know how this is all going to play out. He is a solid money in the bank horse for me as far as he'll love the distance. He's doing everything right. I think you got to put some respect on his name.
Yeah, I think it's more of just we just kind of the way the juveniles come back. It's just like, yeah, I think some of these other horses just might be better, which is fair. But this horse, I still just wouldn't forget about him. One thing I wanted to mention before we go on to Lecomte and kind of the little preview of that race coming up this weekend, we had an excellent comment. So I'm not picking on this commenter at all. I thought it was fantastic. He broke down exactly why he didn't like Citizen Bull that well. And basically what he was saying is, look, I broke down all his races and he did an excellent job, a detailed list of he's a one-dimensional horse. He has to get the lead and he has to have things go his way or he can't win. There's one, and again, I thought it was a great comment. I read all of it. And it was a good breakdown. But there's one thing I want to make everybody pause on right now. Be careful labeling horses this early, as they can only do this. They're the equivalent of like a junior high school kid going into like his freshman year of high school. They change. What they've done doesn't always project who they're going to be as they age and as different things get thrown at them. I'm not saying Citizen Bull doesn't want to be a headstrong leader, and if he gets challenged, he's going to fade. That could very much happen. He could also show in his next race, if somebody blazes out in front of him, that he could sit second and third and be okay. It was a great breakdown. I just want to warn the commenter and people that already have these horses labeled as they can only do this or only do this. It's very, very early in these horses' career. They're still learning a lot of times. And Citizen Bull, the race where he wasn't on the lead, he did lose. But it was also a 7 furlong race, and Gaming also ran really good that day. So there's other excuses for him that day. Quite frankly, he wasn't good enough going 7 furlong. So my recommendation would be just be careful to put labels on these horses. And like, look at Fierceness last year. Everybody said, oh, he's just a gutless, heartless horse. Nah, he was green. He didn't know what he was doing. And guess what? He proved to have a hell of a lot of heart towards the end of the year when he figured this out, didn't he, Ryan? So that's just kind of just a little warning because, and the reason I say it, Ryan, I've done this before. I've done exactly that. Look at a race, go, well, he's not going to get the lead, so he's out, and there's no pace, so this guy's out. They're learning. So just be careful to label them this early in their career.
I think that's not only fair, it's got history behind it, and I agree too. And I think it's why you and I, in part, when we're making our list, we give him that respect. And I think what your bottom line is, Aaron, with that horse is, look, you don't have to love him, but you know, the knocking he's getting and the this and that, let's give him a chance.
And it's not even, I centered that around Citizen Bull because that's what the comment was about, but it's any horse, right? It's any horse. Don't think that just because they did this when they were 2 years old, they're going to do the exact same running style, be the exact same type of things that got him beat at 2 may not get him beat at 3, because the job of the horse obviously is he's mentally maturing. They're getting faster as they get older and mature. But then the job of the trainer is to make sure they drill those kind of things into their head if they see problems. So they're constantly working on these horses, trying to get them the right style, try to get them in the right spots. Now, sometimes that just isn't going to happen. The horse isn't going to allow it. Sometimes you can work with a horse and you can kind of get them to be a little bit more conducive to what it takes to win, what they need to do to win, and against tougher fields, bigger fields, stuff like that. So just a kind of a friendly advice. It is fun to break down horses and think, I've got this one figured out. Now, once they get 4 or 5 years old, they are who they are. But at this age, just be careful. That's all I'm trying to say.
Fantastic comments, and it's why I love talking about this stuff with you, because that's great wisdom there.
All right, now let's go down to after my little comments there, let's go down to the Lecomte Stakes right now. Okay, so we have a full video preview of this coming out. That's right. Ryan is going to join us for the preview of the Lecomte as well. He did so much research, and he was like, well, I'll just join the big video. So for the full breakdown, check out that video. I'm going to give my picks on that video as well. But here's what we're going to do here. We'll have just a short little breakdown of this one and get you out of here for this video. On Saturday, the last race of the day, race 12, that is the Lecomte Stakes, a field of 14 down at the fairgrounds, Ryan. Yes, after these short fields and cancellations all weekend, last weekend, we've got good racing coming up. Field of 14. This is a mess of a race, Ryan. Tell us a little bit about who you like, who you think is going to hit the board.
Mess of a race is right, Aaron. I did a deep dive on this. And after sort of just looking at it and going over it with a fine-tooth comb, I came down to the 2 horses I think are most likely on top for me at this second. The first one is Built. There's no doubt to me that this is the logical horse to like here. I don't know what's not to like about the horse in this spot. He's improved with every race, and if he improves again, I think this horse could be the winner here. And in fact, this group is similar to the ones he's faced last time out, and he just has to be a factor here. Thing that's interesting, Aaron, I couldn't figure out with him was there was a change of jockeys for this race. And I didn't fully know why. Maybe I just missed something. And did you have any comments on that, by the way?
I thought there's for Built, there's the same jockey. It's Loveberry is on once again. Yeah.
Loveberry's on again. I apologize.
They changed last time. Yeah.
Last time. I apologize to get this wrong. I messed that up because I was researching late at night. But other than that, I have nothing to knock him with. I apologize on air. Gosh, what an embarrassing moment.
The knock could be the 13 hole. That could be the knock.
To me, but Built is going to be my pick regardless. I think he's the one to beat for me. The horse that I like as well here that just really interests me is Innovator. I like how he was a nose behind Barnes 3 races back. He feels like the typical hard-knocking horse we see Lucas get in these Triple Crown races, Aaron. Just Steel comes to mind, just a horse that Lucas threw in seemingly everywhere until he made it to the Derby. I love those gritty, hard-knocking horses, but he's also tied with Built for the second fastest time form figure. Mm-hmm. It's shocking who the horse is with the higher speed figure. We'll talk about that in the next video. Yeah. But I think that Innovator is very interesting. Ultimately, though, I'm going to edge it to Built. I think he's the horse to beat again here. But I'm going to be honest, guys. This race is a mess. I have a bunch of horses who I think can hit the board or even upset at a good price. I'm excited to go into that with you, Aaron. And so looking at it, if you're just like, just give me who's the most likely winner, those are my 2. But boy, this feels like a race that's either going to be formful or you're just cashing big, and I'm excited to break that down.
It's going to be a hell of a race. There's no doubt about it. I don't know that we have a superstar in here. I don't know that we don't either. They're all that kind of at that kind of spot in their career where it's just like they could go one way or another, and I wouldn't be totally shocked. You mentioned time form U.S. speed figures. 11 of the 14 horses are within like 9 points of each other, which is nuts. That's like saying 11 of the 14 are like 4 to 5 buyer speed figure points, close to each other, kind of to translate the 2 there. It's crazy. Also, when I was looking at this with the speed figures from time form, there's really only one horse that doesn't seem to maybe have a chance. The other 13, you could sort of make a case for. So it's going to be fun to preview this race with you. again, we're going to do that here coming up. You'll see it on the YouTube page, the preview for this race. Lecomte, Ryan and I will break down every single horse and give our win picks. I'm not going to do it here. I'm going to save it for that video. What I will tell you is we will break down this race next week. We'll have something to break down. It'll be this race. So the Lecomte, we will actually be breaking this whole thing down next week on the show. We'll also talk about, I'm guessing, there's a couple of maiden special weights to keep an eye on here on this card as well. We've seen good maiden horses come out of Lecomte, over the years. Race 7 could be a race that we talk about. It's a good maiden special weight field. Kind of keep an eye out for race 7 this year on Lecomte as a race we could talk about as well. So a lot going on this weekend, thankfully, because there was nothing going on last weekend to talk about. So, all right, Ryan, we're going to get out of here today for this video. Thanks everybody for watching. You got any final thoughts before we sign off?
No, I think this is an awesome thing to have Jon White's list. I think it's great if you're interested in leaving your comments below about who you would rank top 5. Would love to hear it, or what you think of the list. So that's always fun to, that's what horse racing is about here. And it's just opinion based. We're so far away from the Derby. It's exciting time of year, and I'm excited to see if it changes after the Lecomte.
Yeah, and make sure to put your list in the comments if you guys want, and maybe we'll read a few of them off next week. That'd be kind of fun, actually. Yeah, put the comments down there. Good idea, Ryan. All right, we're going to get out of here for now. All right, guys, thanks everybody for watching the video and the Kentucky Derby update for this week. Like always, we'll be back next week. We're back every week leading up to the Derby. Every single week, you're going to get a Kentucky Derby news update. All right, guys, thanks everybody for watching. And most importantly, we'll see you back here next week for more Kentucky Derby news.